what most leadership coaches are afraid to tell you, why you are not a duck, 5 colossally powerful philosophies for leaders, how to conquer the obstacle to leadership greatness, and how to take your leadership energy and power beyond anything you ever imagined. But first, statistics. More money is spent in this area, leadership development, than any other area of corporate training. But 71% of organizations see it as a huge failure. The reason why it fails is very simple. Popular leadership wisdom is broken. Popular leadership wisdom wants you to act like a duck. I'm here today to tell you, you are not a duck. When leaders act like ducks, they fail. But when leaders embrace the 5 incredibly powerful philosophies I'm going to share with you in just a moment, the success is phenomenal. But before we get there, let's look at just one example that is a really good illustration of how modern leadership coaching and development thinks. So here's a great example. John Maxwell's 5 Levels of Leadership. Super popular guy, super popular book. This must be good stuff, right? Well, let's take a closer look. If you look closely, you'll notice that every single level, all 5 levels of his system start with the following words. You see it right there. People follow. I hear ducks. Let's be clear, the goal of leadership is not to get people to follow you. You are not a duck, and your team are not ducks. So why is popular leadership wisdom broken? Here's why. They do not want to talk to you about the types of things that we're going to cover when we get to these 5 amazingly powerful philosophies for leaders. We know what they want to talk to you about. So here it is. Here's why modern leadership systems fail. They fail because they prioritize doing the leadership, practicing the leadership, the mechanics of the leadership over you, the actual leader. The 5 philosophies that I'm going to share with you in just a few seconds do not skip over you. They actually focus on you. They focus on you, and this system, EL6 leadership system, focuses on you first. 50% of the 6 levels of this system focus on you because you are the leader. And if we don't start with you, we'll never get where we want to go. Most leadership systems are afraid to address the truth of leadership. The very fundamental center core of being a great leader requires deep, introspective, ongoing personal work and growth. That can be scary and that can feel overwhelming. But we're not going to be afraid, we're not going to be scared, we're not going to hide, we're going to tackle that head on starting today with these 5 phenomenally powerful philosophies. Just before we jump into those philosophies, let's just do a science check. Look at what the latest organizational behavioral science says about how we see other people. To see other people accurately, we need to know ourselves, understand our own characteristics, and we need to accept ourselves. So that's about us, that's about who we are, and so that is why a lot of leadership coaches hide from this. So it's pretty evident here, right? If we have to know ourselves, our own characteristics, if we have to accept ourselves before we can accurately interact with and even perceive other people, namely our teams, then this stuff becomes incredibly important. And so, of course, deep introspection, deep self-work, deep self-development can be very intimidating. But we don't become better leaders by hiding. Remember why these systems fail, why leadership training and development fails, because they get you to focus on everything except for you. And that's why 71% of the time it fails. And we don't really even need the science to understand this. Just a few simple questions to ask ourselves. Do stagnant leaders inspire innovative teams? Do dysfunctional leaders create high-functioning teams? Do personally negative leaders inspire optimistic teams? So the answers to those questions are pretty clear, and so that takes us to this transformational moment. Leadership isn't about what we can get or get out of our team. Leadership is about how much we can pour into our teams. And so here's how this sort of flows very, very simply. When you become more, then you can give more, right? When you have more to give, you can give more. And when you give more to your team, you can imagine that your team will thrive. And when teams thrive, that means lives are getting better. And when teams are better and when lives are getting better, you have to know absolutely results will happen. So you can see that leadership is not about gaining followers. Leadership is about being a better version of ourselves today than we were yesterday, every day. So being a better version of ourselves is a gigantic subject that we're not going to cover in detail here. Tony Robbins does a really nice job in his Pyramid of Life Mastery of kind of showing the spectrum of what we mean by being the most we can possibly be as people. The uniqueness of this system of leadership, EL6 leadership, is that it sits right in the middle of three worlds: self-development, business operations, and leadership development. That I know of, there is no other system in the world that sits at the middle and brings all three of those practices together. So that becomes the key to why this system can make something like this not make you want to do this. What this system will do is give you energy for leadership, passion for your team like you have never experienced before. Bye-bye ducks. So let's do it. Let's cover these 5 colossal, powerful leadership philosophies for leaders. Here they are, 5 of the most powerful philosophies I have ever run into in my life and put together unbounded opportunity. Number 1, learn to use doubt as a power source. Master being 100% totally present in every moment. Become the boss of your mind. Your mind is a duck. Get it to follow you. Number 4, accept that you have everything you need. And finally, number 5, align your dreams, your grit, and your grind. The reason that those 5 fundamental philosophies are the right place to start is that there is incredible, deep human truth in every single one of those. For example, we evolved to recognize and record danger. Those that remembered where the lions were, they survived. Those that didn't pay attention and remember where the lions hid, well, they're not listening to this video. Let's just leave it at that. Here's a good one. If your brain is constantly in the past or in the future, the next move, the next thing to say, what I said yesterday, what I didn't do yesterday, how can you ever fully engage with your team? Or even, how can you ever fully engage with yourself? Grit is one of my favorite lessons that come out of these philosophies. Life and the road to your goals, to your team's goals, it's never going to be what we expect. No matter what we're headed towards, the path is always going to be different than we believe. And sometimes that's very hard for team members and teams. But when you can embrace grit personally and instill that in your team, phenomenal things happen. Here's a really good question to ask yourself. What are you doing it for, right? Whatever that is that you and your team do every day when you go to work. Is it a mission? And is it for something? Is it for a what? Or is it for a who? Who is it for? So that's just a quick taste, a little overview and kind of context for this. It's really a philosophy. It's really turning modern leadership thinking on its head, reworking it, and connecting it properly to the organization, you and the team. And even in a broader sense, the change that this can bring into your life personally and even into your family and into your friendships is absolutely incredible. So I'm really looking forward to sharing more with you, unpacking this, and meeting you online at events and in so many other ways, connecting with you and growing together in our personal journey and our leadership. Well, that's all the time we have for this video. There's so much more at el6leader.com. Please go check it out. And remember, let's all be better today than we were yesterday, every day.